It's time now for the award-winning #1 local talk show in Northeast Pennsylvania, The Sam Lesante Show. Now here's your host, Sam Lesante.
Thanks for joining us, folks. Very interesting show for you today. You know, we have a media partnership with the Standard Speaker, and we're very happy to announce in the last few weeks we are media partners now with Republican Herald. We've been in the Pottsville area since 1999, and of course in this area since 1994. Joining me today, I'm very happy to have John Patton, who is the operation manager for the Standard Speaker, and Mike Joyce, who is the publisher of the Republican Herald. Before I talk with them, I want to thank you once again for those who participated in our scientific poll. Susquehanna Polling and Research was voted as named as one of the #1 pollsters in the state of Pennsylvania by Real Clear Politics, and we're very happy about that. Also, thank you very much for making this show the #1 talk show in northeastern Pennsylvania and all our local programs, neighborhood programs, and that's basically what we're going to talk about today. So, John and Mike, thanks for coming on the show.
Good to be here.
You know, it's interesting. I was telling you before the show. I was on a panel with Dave Janoski, you know, your sister paper in Wilkes-Barre, and one of the questions was, what role do we play in the media in servicing, you know, the public? All right. So, Mike, let me start with you. Okay. First of all, how long have you been in this business?
In this business since I got out of college, it's about 40 years ago.
You're kidding me.
No.
Is that what you wanted to do?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah. I didn't know exactly that I would be in the newspaper business. I wanted to get into public relations, and then I got into advertising and sales and started with a newspaper and worked my way up.
Yeah. So that was what you wanted to do?
It became what I wanted to do, yes.
Yeah. Do you start off in the sales part?
Yeah, advertising sales. Worked into a sales manager, advertising director, went to a larger paper as a manager, became a general manager, and then I moved to Pottsville in 1998 as the advertising director. Served as advertising director for 20 years in the Republican Herald, and then the publisher retired, and I assumed his position 4 years ago.
When you're, yeah, I know how we sell, okay, our video productions. What were some of the key things that you would be selling, you know, for the paper? Because I know, I understand 1998 versus now, big difference. Okay?
A little bit of difference,
yeah,
yes.
Yeah.
I guess starting then, just getting to know the businesses, what they need, find out what is going to work for them, and figure out if we have a solution that will, what that solution is, and then put together a campaign for them that'll work. Over time, it's transformed from just a print ad to a print and digital ad. Now we have all kinds of different digital components that we can offer solutions to advertisers. Since Time Shamrock bought us in 2003, we've added the ability to cross-sell into our sister paper in Hazleton. We now have billboards, and we're getting into some video as well with OTT. So there's a whole slew of things that we can work with advertisers for.
I was telling you, I just mentioned about Susquehanna Polling. I showed you some of the results that you guys got, which was tremendous, you know, in terms of viewership in the Standard Speaker, which gave me a little hope for, you know, local papers. People, you know, I know we compete in areas, but however, when you look at what we're trying to deliver, each of us have something to offer, okay, in terms of bringing information to them. What do you think, getting back to the question that was asked, what do you think your role is as being a publisher?
My role as publisher is to just make sure that the newspaper is doing the best job that it can in servicing our readers and servicing our advertisers, making sure that we are covering all the news that we need to cover, making sure that we are relevant. You had asked, what does a newspaper do? We are the diary of the county, you know, things that happen within the county, from births to engagements to marriages to deeds, buying homes, to the final obituaries. You know, we're the record of the community's lives, of what's happening. And my role is to just make sure that that continues. On the business side, to make sure that the advertisers are getting value for their trust that they put into us, and that the campaigns are working for them.
Looking in terms of your news reporters, what kind of criteria do you look for?
Somebody that can communicate. Obviously, experience is good. Being able to ask the right questions and then formulate that into a story that they can transfer to our editors on deadline. We're a deadline business, and every day we've got different ones.
Do you ever run across? I know the answer is yes. You ever run across a controversy where a reporter's out there and has to report? Now, they try to report the best that they can, all right? And as long as they're being fair, all right? I know everybody has sometimes hidden agendas, but you can't bring your agenda to your article. So do you ever have concerns that they come in and someone's not happy with the article and boy, they're furious?
Yes, and I will tell you that more often the complaints that I get are not from our local stories, but from the columnists that we run. And my answer is always, we've got people on the left that are upset with us. We have people on the right that are upset with us. I think we're doing a pretty good job.
Yeah.
If we were pleasing one side totally and not the other, we're probably not doing as good a job. As far as the local reporters, they do a good job. They work very, very hard. But we also have a room of editors that look at those stories and go through those stories and try to poke holes in those stories and ask the tough questions before they get published online or into the newspaper.
Yeah. Because, papers as well as, our media, television, have great influence, and it's important that, you're providing them. And sometimes people feel, like you said, you're to the left or you're to the right. And you're right, because the columnists, you don't, you bring them in. You don't have any editorial control over that. How many people do you employ?
We've got about 50 full-time employees.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Including drivers and the editorial staff, the sales staff, production. You
know who I really admire? I mean, I admire all the people who work. I admire those people who deliver the paper. Believe me when I tell you, I think hats go off to them. I give my guy, two of them, a good Christmas tip every year because let me tell you, sometimes I look at the weather outside and I go, so and there's the paper, don't you? I mean, it's amazing, And I like when you guys put in the paper thanks to all the drivers and stuff like that. I mean, so how do you hire such dedicated people, Mike? Do you have the formula?
We don't have a formula, but we've got good managers who talk to people and figure out if they're going to work for us, if they're the right person to make that commitment, because it is a commitment. It's 7 days a week, 365 days a year, and it's in the middle of the night. It's a job that works for some people. It really works well for some people.
Yes.
And if you can do that and make it work for you, that's great. Our carriers are extremely dedicated. Our circulation force is extremely dedicated, and we appreciate that.
Have you found it easier?
I think the last couple of years have been incredibly difficult. COVID threw something at us that none of us have ever seen, and we had to deal with that on the fly and make adjustments on the fly. And with the current hiring situation, there's a lot of competition out there. So it's difficult in all facets of the business. But I'm very fortunate. We have a very, very dedicated, good staff, and they like what they do.
I think in our field, you have to really like what you're doing. You have to be, you have to be dedicated to it because this is something that's different, in terms of that. Now, as the Republican Herald, we try to promote you have a lot of things coming up in the near future. Could you give us a breakdown of some of the things that are happening?
Of course, it's coming to the end of the year. One of the best issues that we publish every year is the Thanksgiving issue. And 3 years ago, we started to do something called Hero of the Year, where we offered our readers the opportunity to nominate somebody, not the people that are in the news all the time, but the everyday hero. And for 3 years, we've gotten great response. There has been a group of people within the community who do the judging, and then they vote. And there's a conference call. Actually, I was on it last week. I don't vote, but I kind of sat in on the call. And we have another great selection this year that'll be announced on Thanksgiving Day. Of course, that's usually our biggest issue of the year, one of our biggest issues of the year, with all the Black Friday inserts and things like that. Some of the other programs, speaking of the holidays that we have coming up, we're starting a new program for Letters to Santa, where we're giving opportunity for the children in the county to write a letter. We have an express service to the North Pole, and we will be publishing those letters in print and online starting the beginning of December. Thank you to our sponsors there. I should say thank you to Trinity Lutheran Church for sponsoring the Hero of the Year award as well. And then we're getting ready for our Reader's Choice 2023. And that is our biggest issue of the year. It requires the most work from our staff, and it's one of the most fun things that we do. Businesses compete for that title, Best of or Reader's Choice. And last year we had 175,000 votes and over 2,000 businesses nominated for the various categories that we named. So it's a big deal.
It is a big deal. I know Hazleton does it as well.
Correct.
Folks, I'm talking to Mike Joyce, who is the publisher of the Republican Herald. We've been down in that area since 1999, and we're very excited to be a media partner with them. And of course, up here in Hazleton, we've been with the Standard Speaker for a long time. It shows how media can work and bring information to you. Sometimes you like it, sometimes you don't, but I think Mike's right. As long as you got complaints coming from both sides, you're doing your job. We'll take a break. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back to the Sam Lesante Show, folks. Remember, 24/7, SSPTV.com. You can watch all of our local neighborhood programs, plus our YouTube channel. Very happy today to have John Patton, who is the operation manager for the Standard Speaker, and Mike Joyce, who is the publisher of the Republican Herald. So let me ask all of you a question. Let's say you give me $6 and I give you $16 back. You like that deal? Let's say you give me $6 and I give you $8.50 back. Let's say you give me $6 and I give you, let me see what it was, about $18 back. What am I talking about? I'm talking about the Sunday coupons that are in both papers. It's amazing to me. The truth, I mean, so you just pay $6 for the Republican Herald, maybe $5 something for the Standard Speaker. My wife and I use them every week when we go out. Okay, the other day we were able to, because we got blades or whatever, $16. So John, it's amazing how I'm making money off the paper. Thank you.
Yes, and we have this conversation just about every time I'm on, and it really is. It pays for itself.
Yeah.
So if you subscribe to the paper for the week and you use the coupons on a weekly basis, you're making money. So you know, all you gotta do is call us up, and we'll start you on the way to making money.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah. So John, you've been a partner with ICE for a lot longer than, of course, we just got Mike on. Mm-hmm. In terms of the media partnerships, how do you see that?
Well, I think this has worked great for us. I think they're complementary, you know, and you're right. You said in some areas we compete, but for the most part, you know, us being able to promote you in the paper and you being able to promote us on TV works hand in hand. Sometimes you don't get a chance to see everything in the paper. Maybe you miss something. You pick out the highlights and, you know, on the show, and people will say, you know, I got to go back and read the paper. Or what I like is what you do best is saying, coming up in tomorrow's paper. So people are seeing your show at night, and then, you know, or however they're seeing it, and then they pick up the paper the next day for maybe more detail.
Exactly.
So I think that in our area, we're lucky. I mean, we're lucky to be able to be in the Hazleton area and have this. But, you know, Mike and I talked a little bit about it. You know, we sit in the middle of the Pottsville Republican and the Citizens' Voice. So we get all the news in Hazleton. So if it's in the county seat up in Wilkes-Barre, or if it's in the county seat in Pottsville, you're going to get everything you need to know. You're going to be able to pick out from our paper what is pertinent and give that to the people here. So, you know, again, I think if you subscribe to the paper and you watch the show, you know, you're going to be as well informed as you can be. And I think that is what our job is. Our job is to inform, not on the national level, because that is available in a lot of places, but on the local level, when you want to know, you know, who had a hit in a Little League game, or you want to know what high school, you know, what happened in the high school game, you know, or what happened in, we do a lot of the stuff like Scholastic Superstars, every year, you know, promoting the brightest and the best in the community. You're going to get it here. And that, I think, will make for a well-informed public.
You know, it's interesting, our Ken Kara and Shima have that podcast.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not into podcasts, but it's very interesting how they highlight the local sports.
Absolutely.
You don't get that on national television.
No, and again, I mean, from that standpoint, you got, again, another partnership. You know, you have the TV and the newspaper getting together, you know, on a semi-regular basis to be able to promote that.
Yeah.
And you're right, you don't see that. You're not going to see it in a big city where you have that, you know, that kind of localness being brought out to you. And again, just another one of the ways that we're working together to make the community more informed.
You know, Mike and I were talking about this maybe a month and a half ago about, you know, we're lucky in this area because we have people who read the paper, okay? And when they're reading the paper, they're appreciating what they're getting, okay? And I said at the conference we were at, I would hope that there would not be a demise of the paper, okay? Because that's still a very important part of getting the information you get. Mike just said it, you know, all the different things that happen, you know, from Bert's. I didn't even think of that, Mike. You know, Bert's, selling him homes. All that information's there, you know, which a paper provides. We provide so much. You provide so much. John, you know, how long have you been around?
This is my 27th year in Hazleton. My 32nd in the business.
Mike, you know, he's 10 years older than me, just so you know that.
I notice I'm getting closer to that chair.
Yeah, that's right. You see, people say, where's Patton? I said, he's at the paper doing what he has to do, you know, work. You're a grandfather now, right?
I am.
Okay,
yeah.
and how many?
My first. Yeah, my first in August, and I have another one due in February.
Well, that's good. And then that'll take a lot of your time.
But you said once I became a grandfather, then I could guest host.
I
so
lied.
I'm going to hold you to that.
I was lying. That was a lie. Okay. Interesting that we have upcoming events, and I'm hopefully we will do that with the Pottsville with the Republican Herald. Events that are held, and we had some, for example, the scam. We preluded that so we could promote that, and you know. I think those things are important, don't you think?
I think they're incredibly important. And if you didn't get a chance to get out to the Wiltsey Center to see, it was a combination of Lehigh Valley Health and the state police. We're going to work on getting that up so you could get a chance to take a look at it. You know, everyone says, that'll never happen to me until it happens to you. And so I think that's the key. And I think Lisa Marie did a great job. And as we get it out there, we'll promote it. So even if you weren't at the event, you'll be able to go on, you'll be able to watch it at your leisure and see how people are getting scammed and how you can secure, maybe safeguard yourself from it ever happening to you.
You know, we talk about doing creative things. Mike, how do you come up with these creative things that, you know, that involve the community? Like you have the Heroes Award, you have Reader's Choice. How do you come up with these things?
We steal them. No, the newspaper industry has a lot of interconnecting organizations. So you do hear ideas at one place that works and you try it. But we also have some very creative people in the building. And we sit down and brainstorm and figure out how it's going to work within Schuylkill County or within the Time Shamrock footprint.
You know, it's interesting to say that because, you know, when I was on the board of trustees at college, I'm all for going to conventions. Because when you go to a convention and you're meeting with a lot of other newspapers, I don't know if you have that, and you learn a lot of what's happening and what's, you know, helping the community in Pittsburgh or whatever small towns. Do you find that, Mike, when you go to these?
Yeah, the Pennsylvania Newspaper Association has a really good organization that actually had our first in-person meeting in 3 years a couple weeks ago. And it was very informational, very, very good for connecting and reconnecting with people. The advertising organizations of newspapers in Pennsylvania has something called the Interstate Advertising Managers Association, and they're a little more specific to just advertising sales managers, and they do the same thing. A lot of it, because of COVID, is now done virtually and done just through emails and exchanging ideas with people that you've met before. But it was nice to be able to get back to a conference.
Yeah, you pick up some good ideas. John, do you feel the same way?
Yeah, I mean, and that has been, you know, when you get out there, you're kind of geared to that. You're looking for that.
Yes.
It doesn't happen when you're sitting in your office, but when you get out there, you're specifically looking for things both on the news side and the advertising side to be able to bring back, and especially if it's worked somewhere else, it's kind of out there for you.
Absolutely.
So, Mike is right.
You have the formula already.
Sometimes it's better to steal them, so it makes it easier.
Yeah, it is. It's not a matter of stealing. I'm sure they want that to happen.
Yep.
And how many employees?
We have about 25 full-time and about another half dozen part-time, and but we tell people that we have about 300 when you start putting the Time Shamrock family together. So when there's something that happens in Scranton, I don't need to send somebody there.
Exactly.
It comes to me. So we have in this area, a vast array of people that handle us locally, but from a regional standpoint, and let's face it, we're regional. As much as people may or may not want to believe it, we're a regional group of people anymore. So it's nothing to go to Scranton or to Pottsville on a regular basis. So having the ability to get information from those, on a daily basis, makes the people in our area, much more informed.
So Time Shamrock, we're talking about the Scranton Times, right? We're talking about the Citizen's Voice. We're talking about the Standard Speaker, and we're talking about Republican Herald, right?
That's just the print side.
Okay.
And then you got Rock 107, and you got other radio stations. You got ESPN. You got a billboard company out there, Time Shamrock Outdoor. So it is when you get to the Time Shamrock family, you can get your message out any way you want.
I know
we can do it for you.
Yeah, that's good. It's here again. When you're looking at local events. People turn to the paper when they want some, we have a meeting coming up or they're giving something away and they get a picture in the paper and shows what they're, and I think that's good, whether it's Unico, Rotary, or whatever, Lions Club. It's interesting, especially if you're having an event coming up, and you're promoting it. So it's such a big umbrella, okay, that you could do that. Talking to John Patton, my friends, who is the operation manager for Standing Speaker. Been on with them for media partners for a long time, and you can see how things work together. We all try to get the best out to you, and of course, Mike, Joyce, very excited about getting the Republican Herald on board. I really enjoyed coming to your office. Your people there are very nice.
Thank you.
And I wanted to give them a raise, but you came in and said, and they were happy with me.
They were very happy with you, Sam.
Yeah. See, we can take a break. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back to the Sam Lesante Show, folks. Thank you once again for making the Sam Lesante Show the #1 talk show in northeastern Pennsylvania after our scientific poll with the Susquehanna Polling and Research Company. My guest today, we have John Patton, who is the operation manager for the Standing Speaker, and Mike Joyce, who is the publisher of the Republican Herald, media partners. Mike was talking about what happened during COVID. You were talking about COVID. But while everyone could not get out, you still covered municipal meetings. Talk about that a little.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think that was huge. So, a lot of the municipalities, almost all of them, went to a virtual format. So, we were there. We covered all those meetings. So while you couldn't get out, to get to the meeting, you still were informed with what was happening in your municipality. I think that was huge. I mean, I think that people were able to, to get to the paper, and they were able to see what was happening in their community. They couldn't get out to a Butler Township meeting, or they couldn't get out to a Hazleton City Council meeting, but we were there. We covered them, sometimes in person, but a lot of times virtually. So we watched it, we were still able to ask those questions that needed to be asked. And I think that our readers, again, were informed more than they would have been, had we not been able to provide that service to them. So to me, that was the biggest thing that happened during COVID for the municipalities, was they could still operate. They still had to operate. They still had to plow the streets. They still had to sign contracts for garbage removal. And we were right there with them. We were out there reporting them so that the people that lived in those municipalities knew what was happening, and they could react however they needed to. They could react to it because it was timely. The information was got to them, and it was timely.
And you can't get that on national news.
No.
You can't get, Mike, I guess the same thing happened in Pottsville. You covered the same.
Yes, Schuylkill County had the same meetings, and most of those were virtual. The county commissioners, the school boards, everything that Sean's talking about, we covered as well. And readers needed to see that. They needed to know what's going on.
Sure.
That's our role.
Yeah, and I want to thank you for I do the mayor's report every month down there in Pottsville with Mayor Dave Clues, and your paper has been very gracious in promoting that because we're bringing information to the community.
Sure.
And there is a perfect example of where I see media partners working, where you get both informations. Okay, I'm looking to this for one reason. I'm going to do this, my friends. I'm going to tell you, John Patton is a good friend of mine, but I'm giving him $3 right now, because as you can see, he forgot the razor for his beard. And this is for Gillette blades. It's $3, okay? So John, I'm gonna give you this, okay, to shave that beard off, all right?
I appreciate that. That's a nice gesture. And in fact, in the number of years that I've known you, that's the first time that you've ever given me something.
I'm telling you, I use this all the time. I just think it's great. I mean, and the fact, I look at certain things in the paper. My wife looks at a lot of things in the paper, but it's a good relationship. And what our job is to provide information to you. And look, it's a two-way street. They're open for suggestions. They're open for what you think is, important to you, as well as we here at SSPTV. So I want to thank the both of you for coming on the show, and I appreciate the media partnership. Okay.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you,
And
Sam. We do too.
We'll see you next time.